Okay, we've got ourselves a Hyundai I10. It's 2015. What we're going to do today is basically the car has come in for an MOT. It's failed on traction light and ABS light. So we're going to find the diagnostic plug it in, run the scan, and then hopefully we'll know exactly where we're going from there. Okay, so on this little beauty, down by the right hand side of the steering wheel, on the column, there is a fuse box there. It also says OBD, so we're just going to pull that off there, and there she is. There's our plug. So we're going to get our diagnostic tool and we're going to just plug that in, and then we'll show you the lights that's on. So the lights are on the top left of the dash. Those are the two lights that are on at the moment, and we're going to diagnose what the problem is and then hopefully a rectification. So we're scanning now, just going through a series of buttons there, which is an auto scan, and it's going to just go through everything and then we'll see what it comes up with. There we go, ABS ESP1 fault. So when it's done its thing, we'll just go back to that. Yeah, so here's the new unit. It is the whole complete thing. So the wheel bearings in there, the axle, stub axle, and there's the sensor and ABS unit there. So 4-bolt fixing. We'll start stripping it down and fit this one on and clear the codes. Okay, so 21mm socket will take the wheel nuts off. We're going to take the caliper and the carrier off and the disc off. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'll come back. Okay, so 14mm spanner will take off your caliper, and also at the back it will also take off, there's two, one there and one up here, the carrier, and that will take off the carrier. That's also a 14mm. Phillips screwdriver for the little grub screw in the disc, and then that comes all off. Okay, so the disc is now off, caliper, carrier, caliper itself. There's 4 bolts, which we've got new ones for this. It's 2, 3 and 4 down there. Now it looks a bit crispy, so I'm suggesting really you need to just give it a good wire brush round. It might be worth putting some WD-40 just on there, some penetrating fluid. Just let it soak in for a little bit. Last thing we want is them to round off or indeed break off. So I'm just going to clean this up better, give it a spray, and then we'll get those off. So basically, when you get these off, you can see here that you can turn the hub and you can get a socket straight through there onto that nut, onto the bolt, and you can do it for each one. So you can get them on there quite squarely and without a hassle, hopefully. Okay, so where the cable goes into the speed sensor at the back of the hub, there is a small clip. I don't know if you can see that. Let's just get a bit more light on the subject. So there's a small clip there. Just push that in, and then that sensor should just pull out. So push that in. There we go. So that's out now. These all came off, undid as expected. They were a bit stiff, but They're coming off now, so we're going to take all these off, and hopefully, well, you'll probably need a good size hammer to take this off, because it'll be welded onto, just by corrosion, it'll be welded onto the actual stub axle. So we'll see in a minute what happens when we put a hammer to it. There we go, guys. So that's out now. It did take a little bit of a persuading, but luckily I got my trusty steed there. So we're just going to give this a little bit of a clean up, so that the new one will fit in nice. And then I'm going to take that off, give that a clean up as well. So I'm going to take that off, the shield, give it a clean round on the ring of the hub there. A little bit of copper slip, put the other one back in. The bolts that we were taking off from the hub, they are 12mm. I have no data at all for torque settings for the hub or the caliper, but to be fair, 12mm doesn't need an awful lot of torque on there. Just tighten it up and just give it a good nip, and that should do it. Anything more harder than that, you're going to end up snapping them off. The road wheel nuts between 90 and 110 newton meters on the torque settings on that, but we'll start putting this back together. Okay, so I've just literally cleaned up round, gone round these edges here and round here just to make it a little bit smoother, so we don't get any bits of crap or anything in between. It doesn't sit properly. A little bit of copper slip. It doesn't need an awful lot, just to literally, really, it just helps the next person if they've got to take it off. In a few years' time, it'll come off with a bit more ease, really. That's all you need, and a little bit on the nuts to basically go in the threads so they don't less friction, easier to do. And then we've got to bolt it all back together. So the carrier is actually a 14mm nut socket on that. So 12mm for the caliper, 14mm for the carrier, and then it's 12mm for the actual wheel bearing hub. Okay, so basically it's 14mm for the caliper, 14mm for the carrier bolts, and 12mm for the wheel bearing hub. Hope that helps.